And once we get to this news of the day, Boxing Blunts, Rob Gotti, I see you guys' emails. I'll send you the link, and you guys can get on that and call in once we get through some of these major news and announcements of the day. But first, let's talk about these pay-per-view numbers, because I feel like that's obviously the preeminent news of the day that's taken over boxing social media. Mike Coffinger with the breaking news again, saying sources, it's early, but Wilder Fury is tracking at over 300,000 pay-per-view buys. The break-even point was 250,000, I'm told, so a big win for Showtime and PBC. He follows that up with another tweet saying it's looking like the number will come in a bit north of 320,000, so 320,000 pay-per-view buys, not including digital, not including UK pay-per-view. Gary saying, is Blog Talk working? I believe it's working. Call in, definitely, of course, that number as well, 323-870-4051. Gary, I see you there, so I do see you. Gary, don't worry. I'll get to you after we get through these news, or at least the big couple news topics of the day. Rob, I put over to you first. Initial reaction when you saw these numbers.
Yeah, I thought they were sort of decent. I maybe expected more, considering the names and the push that it had.
It seemed like it was trending to do more. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and obviously, like you say, but whenever we hear a number from the States, that's the number we're going to be going by. We'll obviously maybe find out what BT did and things like that. So I guess we take the US number as we normally do with these things. I know that not always both sides of the pond sort of joint effort, but we'll obviously take the American one into account on this one. But yeah, whether it comes in at around 400 in the end, because they've got to count other things. But yeah, I was sort of like, yeah, that's okay. But it's just, I don't know. I just felt it was going to be bigger than this. But I think I said sort of maybe the 500. I can't quite remember my pick, but obviously it's decent. They're happy with it. If it's gone past what they expect to break even, then it's all been a success. I think Stephen Espinoza originally said if it does 400,000, we'll be happy. So whether at that point, whether this break even number has kind of been dialed down after he said 400,000, I don't know. But I don't want to get down the conspiracy theory route. But yeah, I think it's been a success from things I'm reading. It's just maybe I felt, obviously I know Fury and how well I thought he sold everything, with the media tour. I just thought it might have generated a little bit more, but because I said in my call yesterday that I felt the fight week really put some fire under this, and I really thought like, oh wow, this does seem bigger than it was looking originally, but. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on the actual final number. But yeah, I think everyone involved's pretty pleased. So, well done to them. Seeing videos of like the actual fight, people in the crowd, it seemed great atmosphere, and obviously waving my own flag. But when you get a lot of Brits abroad and probably a lot of drink flowing, there was definitely a good atmosphere as far as the UK fans being in the arena. I don't think many fight fans in the States have heard the chants of "You Big Dosser" as a fight's happening, but it was it looked like a big event, and they're happy with the numbers. I just maybe thought, obviously we see the Joshuas with the around the million mark, and we know other pay-per-views that have done it, but I guess Wilder's first time out as the main, whether the A side. I know people questioned who exactly was the A side in this a little bit, but yeah, first time out, everyone must be pretty pleased with it.
Yeah, I would agree with that and emphasize that this is a good number. Like, this is a very good, not very good. This is a good number. They should be happy with this. I've compared it in the past, like Mayweather versus Gotti, Mayweather's first pay-per-view entry. That did only 350,000 pay-per-view buys in an era where pay-per-views were much more acceptable. Nowadays, it's much harder to break that million, even though we are in the same era that certain fights have done historically the best numbers. Like, it's a weird time when Mayweather is also doing the best pay-per-view buy rates in history, yet the total average has dropped and plummeted over the last few years, all across the board for combat sports in the U.S. for buy rates. I compared it again to a UFC fight. I know you don't really care about that, Rob. But Daniel Cormier fought Stipe Miocic. It was a champion versus champion fight. One champion moving up a weight, fighting another one. That's a big super fight in the UFC. That only did about 400,000. So that was promoted and pushed like one of the biggest UFC pay-per-views of the year, and it only did 400,000. Similar to this. This obviously was pushed and promoted like the biggest pay-per-view of Showtime's calendar, which it obviously was. And it did 320,000, just north of that, which is still a good number. When you add in the revenue they're going to get from BT pay-per-view, from digital pay-per-views, which are separate from that, on top of that, whatever revenue they get from movie theaters, which obviously isn't a huge number, but they could probably get a few seven figures in that revenue as well, let alone international distribution in other countries. This seems like a success. Was it a major success? No, it was not that. But it was a success. And I want that to be emphasized because a lot of people are saying that this is a failure. And that just is not true in any way, shape, or form.
So you're gonna have to work some maths with me, Matt. How
Quick maths.
If say this ends up being around 400,000, that's 30 million dollars generated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So break down maybe what we think Showtime take from this amount, and then other things. Just what is left in the pot, and what do we see the split from the pay-per-view that Wilder will get and Fury will get?
Obviously, each pay-per-view is different. I want to have that sort of clarifier there that this is I'm speaking in generalities from what I know of the industry and how it works. Showtime, I'm using Showtime in air quotes, it's not really Showtime. It's more Wilder and Fury in boxing sense. They're going to collect anywhere from 50% to 70% of pay-per-view revenue from their distributors. So we're going to talk about the linear TV number, that 320,000, not including digital. That's purely what we're talking about because digital, they take 100% of the revenue from that per buy. So knock that 30 million down to 18, 20 million. Let's just round off to 20 just to make it very fucking simple for us, right? 20 million. 10 million goes to distributors, which would be the TV companies. That would be DirecTV, Dish, Xfinity, the linear TV. If you buy the pay-per-view on a cable box, that is the number we're talking about here. From that 20 million, fighters in boxing, especially at the main events, usually collect a lion's share of it. In the UFC, it's different. The UFC collects a lion's share and then slowly distributes it down to fighters depending on which fighters the contract. But for boxing, the fighters collect a lion's share. So most likely what happens would be is that Wilder and Fury collect probably 50%. They probably split around 50%, depending on what their split is, whether it's 60-40, 55-45, 50-50. They split that 20 million. And they pay out Showtime. They pay out their promoter. They pay out the trainers through Wilder, through Fury. That's usually how it works. So let's say, again, Wilder collects another 10 million on top. Fury collects another 10 million on top, just to keep it very round. Showtime and BT are probably collecting a respective 1 to 2 million each in pure profit. Because, again, this is all past break even. That's usually what you're looking at.
All right, no, it's just I was trying to break it down, and because I didn't know who would take what chunk of what, I just thought, is he going to make the 15 million slave contract offer from AJ? After all this promo, he got 4 million guarantee. And I did think, is he going to get maybe 8 to 10 million from the pay-per-view?
Probably close to that. So he's getting around that 15 million.
12, 13. I know there's obviously other income going to come from this, but it just seemed a long way round of,
But for a much easier fight.
Ticking past this slave contract from AJ, which was going to be for the undisputed heavyweight title, But
it's for an easier fight. What we thought was an easier fight, right? I mean, obviously, hindsight is this is Fury's back with that top 2, and it's now top 3, right? But beforehand, all of us, except for the diehard Fury fans and the UK fanboys, were saying, nah, Fury's not ready for this fight. He just isn't.
Yeah.
So he would be, in theory, before his fight, making around 13, 15 million for a fight that's significantly easier and collect the lineal title in a way. That's the thought process. Obviously, did not turn out that way. Obviously, Fury showed up in a much different form. So I think that point's a little bit like it's not really substantive. Like there's no like worth in debating that.
Like I said, I wasn't trying to come at it with a fanboy status.
You're just trolling.
No, not even that really. I just started to think, what's he really getting from them? But then, like you say, it was potentially, obviously, as it turns out,
and again,
it was in their minds as an easier way to get that same amount of money. But
that is only the linear TV. We're not talking about digital yet.
Yeah.
We're not talking about UK pay-per-view. We're not talking about German TV license fee. Like we're not talking about all that adds up. It does. That's how you get.
I'm sure. Yeah.
That's how you get Mayweather making $600 million for Pacquiao's, because the syndication of that is worth just as much as the live feed, just as left of all of this. And if you collect a piece of everything, you're making a lot of money down the line. That's how probably Showtime collects more revenue than off of the pay-per-view. It's through syndication. They have the rights to the library of it. They have the rights to show it. So from my understanding, when, let's say, Showtime works with some German TV company to license it out, Showtime's making more of that money.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
I think they're doing a repeat, aren't they? I don't know how that works. If that's
they usually do that. Like I know HBO does that like religiously. Like the week after or 2 weeks after, they show it on like regular, like their TV channel.
But what was my other point I was going to make on this? It's slipped my mind. But keep talking; it'll come to me.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Look, Eddie Hearn can say all what he likes. Who gives a shit what Eddie Hearn says? It's garbage.
Calm down, Frankie. Calm down, Frank.
Tell him, Frank.
Well, do you have any last points on this pay-per-view? Because, again, I think we pretty much agree. It's a good pay-per-view buy rate. Not a major one, but it's a good one.
Yeah. Like, I'm not blown away by it, and I'm not like, haha, it was shit. It's like, it's good. It's good. This is just, it's done all right.
Yes. If this did like 150, 160, the narrative would be very, very different.